Cecilia slammed the door of her apartment, her heart pounding like a drum in a silent room. She had just returned from a clandestine meeting with Camilla, their fingers brushing in the dim light of a coffee shop, a touch that sent electric shocks through her veins. But as she tossed her keys onto the counter, her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. "We need to talk. Now." Margaret sat rigidly on the living room couch, Cecilia's laptop open on the coffee table like an accusation. The screen glowed with paused videos, clips of women embracing, laughing, loving in ways that society whispered about but rarely accepted. Cecilia's stomach dropped. She had forgotten to clear her history after a late-night spiral of curiosity and longing. "Mom, what are you doing with my computer?" Cecilia's voice cracked, a mix of defiance and fear bubbling up from years of suppressed truths. Margaret's eyes, usually warm with maternal concern, now burned with a confusion that bordered on betrayal. "I came over to fix that virus you mentioned, and this is what I find. Videos of women together? Cecilia, are you?" The words hung unfinished, heavy in the air. Cecilia felt the walls closing in, her mind racing through 1,000 excuses, but none came. Instead, she collapsed into the armchair opposite her mother, the weight of her secret finally cracking the facade she had built so carefully. In that moment, Cecilia's thoughts swirled like a storm. How had it come to this? She had always been the perfect daughter, the straight-A student, the dutiful sibling, the one who attended church every Sunday without question. But deep down, in the quiet hours when the world slept, she had wrestled with feelings that didn't fit the mold her conservative family had cast for her. Camilla had entered her life like a breath of fresh air during their senior year at university, a journalism major with a sharp wit and an unapologetic spirit. Their friendship had blossomed into something more, stolen glances turning into whispered confessions under the cover of night. But admitting it aloud? That was a bridge Cecilia wasn't ready to cross, especially not with her mother, whose world revolved around traditions and expectations. Margaret closed the laptop with a soft click, her hands trembling. "I don't understand, Cece. We've raised you right. Your father and I. We've given you everything. Is this some phase? Or have we failed you somehow?" Her voice softened, laced with pain that mirrored Cecilia's own inner turmoil. Cecilia wanted to scream that it wasn't a failure, that love wasn't something to be fixed or prayed away. But the words stuck in her throat, choked by the fear of rejection. She thought of her father, stern and unyielding, a man who quoted Bible verses like weapons against anything he deemed unnatural. What would he say if he knew? As the silence stretched, Cecilia's mind flashed back to the first time she realized her feelings weren't just admiration. It was during a group project with Camilla, late nights in the library where their knees touched under the table, sending sparks through her body. Camilla had laughed at one of Cecilia's jokes, her eyes lighting up, and in that instant Cecilia knew. But she had buried it, dating boys to fit in, attending family gatherings with a forced smile. Now exposed, she felt raw, vulnerable, like a nerve endings laid bare. I don't know how to explain it, Mom," Cecilia finally whispered, her voice barely audible. "It's not a choice. It's who I am." Margaret's face crumpled, tears welling up as she reached for her daughter's hand, but pulled back at the last second, as if afraid of what touching her might mean. The room felt smaller, the air thicker with unspoken accusations. Cecilia wondered if this was the beginning of the end, the fracture that would split their family irreparably. Outside, the bustling streets of Chicago hummed with indifferent life, but inside a war brewed. Margaret stood abruptly, pacing the floor. "We need to talk to your father about this. And maybe Pastor Reynolds. He can help guide you back." Cecilia's heart sank. Guidance meant conversion, meant denying the part of herself that felt most alive with Camilla. She thought of Camilla's text from earlier. "Miss you already. Can't wait for our next adventure." Adventure. That's what Camilla called their hidden dates, a word that masked the danger of discovery. Cecilia's inner voice screamed in protest. Why should love be an adventure fraught with peril? Why couldn't it be simple, accepted? But society whispered otherwise, with its sidelong glances and whispered judgments. At work, in her marketing firm, she heard colleagues joke about those people, never knowing one sat among them. The pressure built like a dam ready to burst. As Margaret gathered her things to leave, promising or threatening a family meeting, Cecilia felt a resolve hardening within her. She couldn't keep hiding, but the cost. Oh, the cost would be immense. Friends might drift away. Her job could become untenable if word spread in their tight-knit community. And her family? The thought of her younger brother, idolizing her, learning the truth twisted her gut. That night, alone in her bed, Cecilia stared at the ceiling, her mind a whirlwind. Camilla called, her voice a soothing balm. "Hey love, everything okay?" Cecilia hesitated, then poured out the story, the words tumbling like released prisoners. Camilla listened, her own fears echoing back. Her family was more liberal, but acceptance wasn't guaranteed. "We'll face it together," Camilla said. But Cecilia wondered if togetherness was enough against the tide of disapproval. The next day dawned with a false brightness, Cecilia dragging herself to work. Her boss assigned her a project on diversity campaigns, irony biting deep. As she sketched ideas, her phone rang, her father. "Your mother told me. Come home tonight. We need to sort this out." The command brooked no argument, and Cecilia felt the news tightening. Arriving at her parents' suburban home, the familiar scent of roast dinner did little to ease her dread. Her father, Robert, sat at the head of the table, Bible open beside him. "Cecilia, sit down." His tone was measured, but his eyes held a storm. Margaret hovered, wringing her hands. The confrontation began, words like arrows. Sin, choice, family honor. Cecilia defended herself, voice rising. "It's not a sin to love someone, Dad. Camilla makes me happy." The name slipped out, and Robert's face darkened. "Camilla? That friend from college? I knew she was trouble." Accusations flew. Influence, corruption. Cecilia's inner monologue raged. How dare they reduce her love to an external force? But doubt crept in. Had she chosen this path, or was it chosen for her? As the argument escalated, Margaret dropped a bombshell. I had feelings like this once in my youth, but I chose the right path." The room froze. Cecilia stared, the family truth unraveling like a pulled thread. Margaret's confession hung. A revelation that shifted everything. Cecilia's world tilted on its axis, her mother's words echoing in the charged silence of the dining room. "What do you mean you had feelings like this?" she asked, her voice a whisper laced with disbelief. Robert's face paled, his knuckles white on the table edge, as if the foundation of their marriage trembled. Margaret sank into her chair, eyes distant, reliving a past buried deep. "In college, before I met your father, there was a girl. Sarah. We were roommates, inseparable. Started as friendship, but then it became more. Stolen moments, secret notes. I felt alive but terrified. My parents were strict Catholics. They would have disowned me." Her voice cracked, the pain fresh after decades. Cecilia's heart ached, seeing her mother not as the pillar of propriety, but as a woman who had sacrificed her truth for acceptance. Robert stood abruptly, chair scraping harshly. "Margaret, that's enough. That was the past. You chose us, our family." But his words held an undercurrent of hurt, a betrayal unearthed. Cecilia watched the interplay, her own turmoil mirroring theirs. How many layers of denial had her family built? She thought of her own choices, the boys she dated to please them, the lies she told herself. The dinner devolved into chaos, voices overlapping in a cacophony of accusations and defenses. Robert stormed out, slamming the door to his study. Margaret reached for Cecilia's hand, this time holding on. "I didn't want this for you, Cece. The pain, the judgment. I married your father to escape it, to build a normal life." Normal, the word stung like a slap. Cecilia pulled away gently, her mind reeling. Was her mother's life a facade? And if so, what did that mean for her own path? Driving home, Cecilia called Camilla, needing an anchor. "My mom. She was like us once." Camilla's gasp echoed through the speaker. "That's huge, Cece. Maybe she understands more than you think." But understanding didn't erase the damage. Camilla shared her own fears. Her parents were progressive on paper but traditional at heart. If they knew about us, would they still see me as their daughter? The question hung, a shared vulnerability binding them tighter. At work the next day, Cecilia struggled to focus, her mind dissecting the family dinner. A colleague, Lisa, noticed her distraction. "Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Cecilia forced a smile, but inside she pondered, confiding. Lisa was openly gay, married to her wife for years. But trust was fragile. One wrong word could ripple through the office grapevine. Lunch brought an unexpected text from her brother, Alex, 18 and home from college break. Mom told me, "I'm here for you, sis. Whatever you need." Relief washed over her, a small light in the darkness. Alex had always been the open-minded one, questioning their parents' rigid views. But his support came with risks. Aligning with her could strain his relationship with their father. That evening, Cecilia met Camilla at a quiet park, their usual spot away from prying eyes. They sat on a bench, hands clasped under a blanket. "I can't keep hiding us," Cecilia confessed, her voice trembling. Camilla nodded, eyes fierce. "Then don't. But are you ready for the fallout?" The question pierced Cecilia's resolve. Ready? No one was ever ready to dismantle their life. Their conversation turned deep, unpacking the societal chains that bound them. Camilla spoke of her immigrant parents, who fled oppression only to cling to cultural norms. "They want me to marry a nice man, have kids. Being with you. It's a betrayal in their eyes." Cecilia felt the weight, the cultural clash adding layers to their struggle. Her own family, rooted in Midwestern values, viewed deviation as moral failure. As night fell, they parted with a chaste hug, the tension palpable. Back home, Cecilia's phone rang, her father. "We need to meet without your mother. Just us." Dread coiled in her gut. The next day, at a neutral coffee shop, Robert faced her, his expression a mask of controlled anger. "This lifestyle. It's not you, Cece. It's influence. That Camilla girl. She's leading you astray." Cecilia's anger flared. "No, Dad. Camilla loves me for who I am. Unlike you, who loves a version of me." The words escaped sharp and true. Robert recoiled, hurt flashing before defensiveness set in. "I've worked hard for this family. Sacrificed. And this is how you repay us?" Repay? The transactional view of love twisted her insides. The argument escalated, drawing stares from patrons. Robert invoked faith, society, future regrets. Cecilia countered with personal truth, the joy Camilla brought. But doubt seeded. What if he was right? What if this path led to isolation? Leaving, Cecilia felt exhausted, the emotional toll mounting. She texted Margaret. "Why did you tell me about Sarah?" The response came slow. "Because I see myself in you. And I regret burying it." Regret, the word echoed. A warning and a revelation. Camilla waited at Cecilia's apartment, concern etched on her face. They talked late into the night, decisions hanging in the balance. "If we go public, we lose people," Camilla said. "But staying hidden, we're losing ourselves." Cecilia nodded, the crossroads clear. The week blurred into confrontations. At a family gathering, aunts and uncles whispered, news spreading like wildfire. Cecilia endured judgmental glances, her inner voice screaming for escape. Alex defended her, sparking a rift with cousins. Then a turning point. Margaret called a private meeting. "I want to meet Camilla." Shock rippled through Cecilia. Was this acceptance or interrogation? She agreed, nerves frayed. The dinner was tense, Margaret's questions probing. "How long? Are you happy?" Camilla answered honestly, her poise impressing. But underlying, Margaret's own unresolved feelings surfaced. "I envy you both. The courage I lacked." As they left, Cecilia felt a shift, fragile hope blooming. But Robert's absence loomed, a storm cloud. Hope flickered like a candle in wind, threatened by the gathering storm. Cecilia and Camilla walked hand in hand from the dinner, a small act of defiance in the Chicago night. But back home, reality crashed in. A voicemail from Robert. "If you choose this path, don't expect our support." The ultimatum hit like a punch, forcing Cecilia to confront the price of authenticity. Her mind raced through scenarios. Financial cutoffs, emotional exile. She had relied on family loans for her apartment, their network for job leads. Losing that safety net terrified her. Camilla held her as she cried, whispering assurances. "We'll build our own net." But Camilla's own job as a teacher was precarious. Rumors could endanger her position in a conservative district. The next day at work, the pressure compounded. A client meeting turned awkward when a coworker casually mentioned family values, in their campaign pitch. Cecilia bit her tongue, but inside resentment boiled. Why must she hide to thrive? She confided in Lisa, the words spilling out. Lisa listened, then shared her story. Coming out cost her parents but gained her freedom. The pain fades, Cece. Authenticity endures. Emboldened, Cecilia decided to introduce Camilla to Alex. At a casual lunch, the three connected, laughter easing tensions. Alex hugged Camilla, whispering, "Take care of her." But envy stirred in Cecilia. Why couldn't her parents offer the same? Margaret's involvement deepened the drama. She began therapy, unearthing suppressed emotions. In a tearful call, she admitted, "Seeing you with Camilla stirs old feelings. I wonder what if." The confession blurred lines, mother or confidant. Cecilia grappled with it, her own identity intertwined with her mother's past. Robert, meanwhile, doubled down. He rallied extended family, painting Cecilia as wayward. A cousin texted, "Praying for you." The condescension fueled her anger. At a heated phone call, Robert demanded she end it with Camilla, or face disinheritance. "Think of your future, your children." Children, the assumption stung, ignoring her truth. Cecilia's inner turmoil peaked. Was love worth the sacrifice? She imagined a life without family gatherings, holidays alone. But without Camilla, emptiness loomed larger. Camilla faced similar demons. Her parents, upon hearing rumors, called a family meeting. "Is it true?" her mother asked, voice breaking. Camilla confirmed, met with silence then tears. "We love you, but this. It's hard." The couple supported each other, but cracks formed. In a moment of weakness, Cecilia snapped, "Maybe we should pause, see if it's worth it." Camilla's eyes widened, hurt flashing. "Is that what you want? To give in?" The argument escalated, words like weapons. Fear, commitment, betrayal. They reconciled, but the seed of doubt grew. Society's weight pressed, news stories of discrimination, friends' subtle distances. At a pride event they attended secretly, inspiration struck, but fear of being seen held them back. Margaret bridged gaps, meeting Robert in private. "Our daughter needs us." But Robert resisted, his pride wounded by Margaret's revelation. "You hid this from me too?" The marriage strained, arguments echoing through the house. Cecilia visited home alone, confronting Robert. "Why can't you accept me?" He sighed, vulnerability cracking his armor. "Because it challenges everything I believe." The honesty disarmed her, planting seeds of empathy amid anger. As weeks passed, alliances shifted. Alex moved out temporarily, siding with Cecilia. Margaret wavered, torn between husband and daughter. Camilla's family softened slightly, inviting Cecilia for dinner. A tentative step. But betrayal lurked. A family friend, informed by Robert, confronted Cecilia at work, whispering warnings. Humiliation burned, pushing her toward a breaking point. In a climactic family therapy session Margaret arranged, truths exploded. Robert admitted fears of societal judgment. Margaret her regrets, Cecilia her pain. Tears flowed but no resolution. Cecilia left feeling raw, questioning if reconciliation was possible. Camilla waited, their bond tested but enduring. The therapy session's aftermath lingered like a bruise, tender and discolored. Cecilia replayed the words in her mind, each accusation a thorn. Robert's reluctant admission, "I fear losing you more than I fear change," offered a glimmer, but action spoke louder. He avoided calls, retreating into silence. Margaret, however, pursued connection. She visited Cecilia's apartment unannounced, bearing homemade cookies, a peace offering. "I want to understand, Cece. Tell me about Camilla." They talked for hours, Margaret listening without judgment. For the first time, Cecilia shared the joy. Camilla's laughter, her support during tough times. Margaret's eyes misted. "She sounds wonderful. I wish I'd had that courage." But courage came at a cost. Camilla's school received an anonymous tip about her lifestyle, triggering an investigation. Panic set in, job loss loomed. Who would do this? Camilla cried. Suspicion fell on Robert, though denied. The betrayal, real or perceived, ignited fury. Cecilia confronted him. "Did you sabotage her?" He swore innocence, but trust shattered. The incident amplified societal pressures. Media stories of similar cases flooded their feeds. Teachers fired, families divided. Camilla considered quitting, moving cities. But that means running, Cecilia argued. We fight. Fight, the word galvanized them, but exhaustion crept in. Alex became a mediator, hosting a sibling dinner. Dad's struggling, but he loves you. Cecilia softened, recalling childhood memories. Yet, love without acceptance felt hollow. Margaret's journey deepened. She reconnected with Sarah via social media. A virtual closure. She married a woman, has kids. Happy. The story inspired but stirred jealousy in Robert, who felt replaced in his wife's history. A turning point arrived at Camilla's family dinner. Her parents, initially stiff, warmed as Cecilia charmed with stories. You make our daughter smile, her father said. Acceptance, partial but real, bolstered them. Emboldened, Cecilia pushed for a joint family meeting. Reluctantly, all agreed. Tensions crackled as they gathered. Robert eyed Camilla warily, Margaret mediated. Conversations haltingly progressed. Questions, answers, tears. But midway, Robert exploded. This isn't natural. Camilla retorted. Love is natural. The clash exposed raw nerves. Cecilia defended. Choose us or lose us. The ultimatum mirrored Robert's earlier one, a cycle of pain. Post-meeting, fractures widened. Robert withdrew further, Margaret sided more with Cecilia. Divorce whispers emerged, the family truth, Margaret's past, unraveling the marriage. Cecilia grappled with guilt. Had her coming out caused this? Inner voices clashed, self-preservation versus family duty. Camilla reassured, but her own scars deepened from the job scare. Resolution inched closer when Robert, alone, researched LGBTQ+ resources. A quiet call to Cecilia. I'm trying. Progress, snail-paced. Meanwhile, societal backlash hit personally. At a work event, a client's homophobic joke stung. Cecilia spoke up, risking professional ties. Colleagues applauded, but fear lingered. Camilla's investigation cleared, but caution remained. They attended therapy together, unpacking traumas. As bonds mended tentatively, a final betrayal surfaced. Margaret confessed tipping the school. To scare you straight. Shock rippled. Mother's love twisted into control. Confrontation ensued, trust broken anew. How could you? Cecilia screamed. Margaret sobbed. I thought it would protect you. The damage forced reevaluations. Cecilia distanced, focusing on Camilla. Healing began in fragments, pieced together with fragile glue. After Margaret's confession, Cecilia imposed boundaries. No contact until genuine change. The silence ached but necessary. Camilla supported, their relationship strengthening amid chaos. Robert, witnessing the fallout, confronted Margaret. Your fear destroyed us. Their marriage teetered, therapy sessions raw. Robert evolved, attending support groups for parents of LGBTQ+ children. Insights dawned. Love transcended norms. Cecilia thrived at work, leading a pride initiative. Colleagues' support affirmed her choice. Alex visited often, bridging gaps. Months passed. Margaret reached out, apologetic. I've joined a group too. Learning. Cecilia met her halfway. Cautious forgiveness budding. Camilla's family fully embraced, hosting holidays. Contrast highlighted Cecilia's losses, but gains shone brighter. Authenticity, love. A reconciliation dinner loomed. Robert extended the olive branch. I'd like to meet Camilla properly. Nerves high, they gathered. Conversations flowed easier. Apologies exchanged. Robert admitted. I was wrong. Fear blinded me. Tears mingled with laughter, wounds scarring over. Margaret shared her story fully. Closure for all. Cecilia reflected on the journey, the pain, growth. Society's chains loosen, personal victories won. Yet questions lingered. Had the costs outweighed the rewards? Families mended but forever changed. In the end, as they sat together, a semblance of peace settled. But was denying one's truth ever the right choice? Or does authenticity always demand its pound of flesh? Was Margaret's initial suppression of her own feelings a selfless act for her family? Or a tragic mistake that perpetuated cycles of pain?